All right, let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is I Will Ascend Above the Heights of the Cloud. I really don't have anything prepared. Just looking over a couple of articles, and one thing is for sure, you know, Esau, he's trying to establish a foothold out in space because they know that that's where Yahushua and the angels are coming from. You know, they read it in the scriptures and they know that it's coming. So they're trying to prepare to do battle against the Lord. Now, I went onto my offline dictionary and I was trying to see if they had anything for Space Force, but they didn't. But what came up was something called space age. And space age is defined as the age beginning with the first space travel from 1957 to the present. Because around that time, that's when the Russians had launched Sputnik. And Esau had to scramble, you know, and pretty much lie to the world, you know, and make up this whole landing on the moon bullshit. But that's scriptural, but you're gonna get that. And they don't understand that this lie that they told to the world, this deception, pretty much began the decline of America. All right. Before I read this scripture, I want to go to the next one, which is space program. It says a technological program intended to explore outer space. Now, why are they exploring outer space, or trying to anyway? Well, because there's two reasons. One, getting ready for Yahushua to try to destroy him, and number two is if they were able to search out the heavens with this Hubble telescope and whatever other telescopes they have, then the Most High would have to keep his word and destroy the whole nation of Israel, because that's one of the stipulations, which the Most High was being facetious, because these devils can't even search out the earth or the seas, but then they're going to try to search out outer space when you haven't even fully searched out everything on earth and everything in the depths of the sea. So that was the Most High being facetious, but that's one of the reasons that they're out there. So now, dealing with what we just read, space age, the age beginning with the first space travel for 1957 to the present. And so-called in 1969, I believe it was, Esau, which is what, about 12 years after, you know, the Russians started, you know, with their whole situation, miraculously, America lands a rocket on the moon, which is total nonsense. They never went there. But that is a part of prophecy, even though they said it as a lie. But it started their downward spiral because they started launching satellites, putting satellites, you know, in orbit. You know, they put their space station out there. I'm not sure what year that space station was set up out there. You know, they've had space shuttles go up into the skies, you know, and everything to set up their weapons or weaponry to fight against the Lord. Now, when we read Obadiah, the first chapter, which is one chapter long, in the third verse, we're going to read down, it says, the pride of thine heart has deceived thee, because these devils are very proud. And you can see that. The way that they talk, the way that they act, just the way that they look, pretty much. You can see the pride. And this is the reason, or one of the reasons why they chose the eagle as a symbol of America. The Most High made them choose that symbol because that symbol represents them. Benjamin Franklin, that devil, he wanted to use the turkey But they were like, nah, you know, they decided on the eagle, because the eagle is the highest flying bird and it's the most proud of all birds. So the pride of thy heart has deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. And the only people that have a history of dwelling in caves in a low state are so-called white people, so-called Caucasians, which is another proof that they are the biblical Edomites. It says whose habitation is high, and you look around, their habitation is high. Back in the late 1800s, out in Chicago, they built an insurance building that was 10 stories high, and that was the biggest building at the time. It towered over everything else. Now when you look at it, you got buildings that's why they call them skyscrapers, implying that they're scraping the sky. And if you stand at the bottom of a skyscraper and look up, it does look like it's scraping the sky. You know? It says, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Yeah, because they're sitting up on a throne that was given to them by the Most High, and they're only sitting there temporarily. Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, and the Most High is about to take them down. But they reason within themselves that they're going to continue to rule forever, and that's not the case. The case is not that you're going to rule forever. The case is that you're only ruling because the Lord allowed you to rule, and your rulership is about to be up. You're about to be taken down from that lofty position that you have. It says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, because the symbol of America is the eagle, and that is they put it on everything, and that is the national bird. You know, this is another trait of the Edomites, and all the different Edomite empires, beginning with the Greeks all the way up until today, they all carry the eagle in some form or another. It says, and though thou set thy nest among the stars. Now this is the point. When they went up, they set their nest among the stars. Is when they started putting up satellites, space stations. You know, they started putting up these different just bear with me 1 second, I'm trying to. They put up all this different weaponry, surveillance, you know, out in the heavens. I'm just trying to go to Obadiah. And look up that word. Let's see. Though thou set thy nest among the stars. Let's look up the word nest. Let's look up the word set. The word set is shayam or shawam. To put, place, set, appoint, make. All right. Now let's look up the word nest. The word nest is quan. Nest. Nest of bird. Cells like nests in Noah's Ark. All right, a nest as fixed, sometimes including the nestings, figuratively a chamber or dwelling, nest room. So what is that chamber or dwelling? That chamber or dwelling would be your space station, which they set up there. And it goes back to the root word of kwanan. It says to make a nest, to be to be nested. Primitive root to erect, but used only as the nominative for H7064 to nestle, that is build or occupy as a nest, make nest. So why did they build that space station up there? Because they want to be able to be in that atmosphere, because they know that Yahushua is coming. They know that there's going to be nuclear war. So they're looking for ways to try to get out of harm's way, so to speak. And the word stars is the word kawakab, which is star. It says of Messiah, brothers, youth, numerous, progeny. So we're dealing with a star. All right. So they set up a dwelling place among the stars. And they accomplished that with their space stations, with their shuttles, with their satellites, with whatever weaponry or technology they have out there in so-called space, which the scriptures call it the deep. All right, which there's a separation between the atmosphere and the earth and the atmosphere outside of the earth. All right, which the Yahushua and the angels set up the ozone layer, which the scriptures call the firmament, and that is a separation between the two atmospheres, just like you have the sand and you have the boundaries of land and water, because that's a different atmosphere. When you go into the water, it's a different atmosphere. You have to be built in order for that atmosphere, in order to breathe in that atmosphere. All right, so now before we read on, let's go to Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 14, just to the point. It says, 13. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, and they have done that. With the Wright brothers, the different planes and everything that they have, the helicopters, space shuttles, right? It says, I will ascend into heaven, and they have ascended into heaven. That's why you have different jets and fighter planes, and you have different jets that bring people across the world from one part of the world to the other. I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High, and that's what they did when they set up the space station. They set up their nest above the stars of the Most High. It says, I will sit above the mount. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. So that's why they so-called claim the moon when they allegedly put their flag on the moon, which they never got to the moon. But that was they're claiming that they put their throne up there. So by them setting up the their space stations and satellites in the heavens, pretty much what they're saying is that they established their throne up there. That's why there's certain stipulations and regulations and certain fly zones and different things that you can't go over, because they claim that area by putting their throne there. All right. So, and which we're going to get back to that, but let's go back to Obadiah 1 and 4. It says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. And that's when you understand the space age and space programs. Once they so-called, went into space and so-called landed on the moon, which they didn't land on the moon, but they started setting up their nest in the heavens. That's when they started to fall, because during the 60s into the 70s, America was doing bad. Drugs, politics-wise, revolutions, rebellions, race wars, race riots, uproars of the people were happening. People were starting to get tired of, especially Jake was being tired of the oppression and the tyranny of Esau, and they started to revolt and started to set up different groups to go against the establishment, even though those groups were funded by the Rockefellers and other international banking families. But the point is that the morality of America started to change. It started to fall. Then you had the situation with drug abuse. That was, the drugs were introduced to the neighborhoods, so it started to degenerate everything. And at one time during the 80s, I believe it was, you had the Bronx, and the Bronx looked like a war-torn place. You had all those different tenements were abandoned. You had certain places where whole blocks were just abandoned, until they started redeveloping it. But pretty much from that point on, when they so-called claimed to put their throne in the heavens, that's when America started to fall. And consequently, that's at around the same time when the truth really started to be spread broader. That's when you had Elder Abba Bivens, and he was teaching different men. He finally chose King Masha, High Priest Arya, and High Priest Jaikwa to continue the mission, of the truth. Then that started to spread to other men, and eventually it started to build up, and that was also another way of Esau falling down, because that is the main way these devils are going to fall before they fall physically. Let's get that real quick. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 8. It says, and then shall that wicked be revealed. So how is the wicked going to be revealed, or how are they being revealed? Whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. Let me let this madness go by. It says, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. So who is the spirit of the Most High's mouth? It's his prophets that are speaking his words, because the prophets are the ones that are reading from the scriptures and giving out the judgments that the Most High is about to bring upon the earth. And that is the job of the prophets. That's what it's to say. Hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me. This is real quick, Jeremiah 28 and 8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries. And Yahushua told the disciples that they were going to prophesy against the Gentiles and kings and all of that. It says, and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. And we're doing the same thing today. So the Lord is exposing these devils to what's really going on, right? It says, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. And that's what he's going to do. After a certain amount of exposure goes out, then the Lord is going to lower the boom on them and destroy them, which is through the thermonuclear destruction and the lasers from the chariots. See? And that's where the Space Force comes in, because Esau is going to is preparing to make battle with Yahushua, but they're going to lose. So let's go back to Obadiah. Let's finish that. Let's read that again, and then let's go back to Isaiah, and then go from there. It says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, which they did, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. So this country, ever since the 60s, really started to fall. You know, they really were on a downward spiral all the way until this very day. And now everything is degenerated. That's why you have, homosexuals being given rights, lesbians being given rights, pedophiles, being said that that it's a disease or some crap like that. So bottom line, this place is just totally degenerated, and it's in bad case of destruction from Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. So let's go back to Isaiah 14, and now let's jump to the 12th verse. You know what? I'll start at 9. It says, Isaiah 14 and 9, it says, hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming, meaning that your demise is approaching, it's on the horizon. It says, it stirreth up the dead for thee. Why? Because the dead are who? The other nations. See, once these nations got the goodies from you and they really seen how you really operate, they started coming against you. That's why you're having problems in many different nations. That's why certain nations, now that they have enough money, are commiserating among themselves and cutting you out of the pie. It says, it stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from the thrones all the kings of the nations. But that's going to be a serious battle, because that battle is called Armageddon. The word Armageddon comes from the Hebrew word Armageddon, which means mountain of the troops. And that's it's synonymous with the valley of Jehoshaphat, or Yahweh Shaphat, which means Yahweh's judgment, in the valley of decision, which is over there in the Middle East, which is where this great war, World War III, is going to take place. It says, all they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Yeah, because you're going to be brought down from your status. And all these different nations now have the capability of missiles, laser technology, and they have each other backing each other. So you have Russia and China together with other nations that have missiles, and they're against you. That's why you're having problems with these nations now, because the Lord is stirring the pot up. It says, thy pomp is brought down to the grave, meaning your arrogance, your pride is brought down to the grave, meaning it's brought down very low. And you're about to be silenced, because remember the scriptures say in Daniel that America was that had that horn that had that great mouth, speaking great things and blasphemy. that big mouth is going to be shut. Just look at Trump for an example of the big mouth of America, and it's going to be shut. The Most High is going to put his foot in your mouth and up your ass sideways. It says, and the noise of his vials, of thy vials, meaning your lousy music. It says, the worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee, because worms represent death. They represent destruction. And they also represent corrosion, because your system is corroding. Morally, mentally, but also your infrastructure is falling apart. That's why everywhere you go, you always see what? Construction crews out there working around the clock, fixing roads, fixing different infrastructure, fixing bridges, you know, building new bridges, because the old bridges are giving out. Because when they were first built, they weren't built for that much traffic, you know. But now you have a heavier load than was than when they built these things, because they didn't think of the massive traffic that would be on these roads. You know, all these different tractor trailers and different trucks and oversized trucks and SUVs and cars and motorcycles and all that. They weren't expecting all that big volume. So everything is falling apart, because the Lord said the worm is spread under thee. It says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? Heaven is a position of wealth, a position of doing good, a position of not having a need for anything or a want for anything. So how are you falling from that great state that you're in? O Lucifer, which Lucifer translates to the Hebrew word Hayalal, or the Greek word Yosphoros, which means dawn bearer or light bearer. So how are you light bearers, the so-called international banking families? And this is why it's important to understand words, because the people in the church, especially that plantation Christianity, they teach that this is talking about the devil. This isn't talking about the devil. This is talking about actual people. This is talking about a people that is ruling right now, that have the light, you know, the insight to what's really going on, as to where the average person is fed the bullshit that they want them to hear. So before I read on, let's jump to the 16th verse. It says, just to prove that Lucifer is not talking about the spiritual demon Satan. It says, verse 17, that made the world as a wilderness. And who made the world as a wilderness? The so-called white man. That's why, which are the Edomites. That's why the Lord said that he will destroy them that destroyed the earth. It says, and destroyed the cities thereof. And they're the ones that did that. I'm sorry, I've read the wrong verse. Verse 16, they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee. Yeah, because they're going to consider who is Lucifer, who is the one that's causing all of this havoc, all of this hell that's coming upon the earth, saying, is this the man? So this is referring to men. This is not referring to the spiritual demon Satan. It says, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? And how did they do that? With their technology, the technology of these different missiles that they've dropped on different cities. You had Hiroshima, Nagasaki, then they dropped bombs in Tokyo and many other different places, because when you hear about Japan and the end of World War II, you only hear about Nagasaki and Hiroshima. But you don't hear about the bombs that they dropped in Tokyo and other of the major cities in Japan. You only hear about the two major ones. But when you do the research, there were many different sites that these devils dropped bombs at. Those just happen to be the last two major ones. You know, that said, the Japanese finally said, you know what, that's it. You know, it's over. Forget about it. And that shows you the heartlessness, if that's even a word. How this devil is so heartless to be able to drop a bomb like that on innocent civilians that had nothing to do with their beef with the Japanese government, and had people suffer from radiation, being burnt up, you know, shit just being messed up. You know, they're heartless. You know, the scriptures say that the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. So in other words, they have no compassion. They have no remorse. They are soulless robots, or soulless robots, inside joke, but they're soulless robots. You know, that's why you look at them, they have that blank stare. There's no love in those devils' hearts. Those devils' hearts are ice cold, man. They don't fear the God of the Bible. To quote my man Hawad, the brother out there, head of the other North Carolina camp. They don't have the fear of the Most High. They have no compassion. They have no remorse. They have no love in that cold, evil, black heart of theirs. But yet you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians are always trying to find some kind of type of compassion or love from this devil. You're always trimming your ways to find love. And and no other nation returns that favor to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. You bend over backwards to show them love, but they don't do the same for you. Where's the bleeding heart of these nations for the ongoing shit that's going on in these different cities? There is none. So going back to the 12th verse, Isaiah 14 and 12, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? So how are you international banking families, you Illuminati, you light bearers, you dawn bearers, you dawn bringers, light bringers, how are you fallen from this lofty state that you were in at one time? Because you got it through what? Rape, robbery, murder. You did all kind of bullshit to cement yourself in your position. And now you're trying to dig in, for the long haul. And you're trying to establish this new world order, which is your main goal and agenda. But it's going to fail, man. It ain't going to work. It's over for you. Finished. So it says, Son of the morning, how art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? No one else on this planet has weakened the nations like the so-called white man did, Esau, the Edomites. Because dropping those bombs all throughout Japan, dropping those bombs on Herzegovina, what is that, Bosnia, Herzegovina, I believe it was, or that area down over there, all these different bombs and different things that you do, dropping them on Iraq, Afghanistan, wherever you go, that's not strengthening those people. That's weakening them. So who has the technology to do that? You devils. This is why you have the audacity. You have the audacity to set up a space force. But that's because the Lord made you do that. Because you're going to battle with the Lord. But you're thinking that you're doing it out of your own volition. Salak, I had to throw a $50 word out there. It just came to mind. You're thinking you're doing it out of your own mind, out of your own will, but you're being guided on the left-hand side by Yahweh Bashem Yahushai to do these things. Because when Yahweh Shai comes back, it's going to be such a horrific sight for you that the Lord is going to have to put the spirit on you to fight back. Because he's coming with ferocity, man. He's coming like that lion in the jungle, coming for the prey. And he ain't going to stop until the prey is down. It says, if thou hadst, for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. And you have done that with your space shuttles, with your planes, your jets, your stealth bombers, your helicopters, and anything else that you have that flies, your drones or whatever the case may be. It says, I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. And you did that when you planted your throne in the heavens with the space station, the satellites, and all that other stuff that you got going on out there. It says, I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. So who is the mount of the congregation? The Israelites. What is the sides of the north? North America. And they're sitting upon us because they own us. We are their slaves through contract. Beginning with the birth certificate, social security card, driver's license, whatever contract you have that you had to sign your signature to that cemented you or glued you to the system. See? So you are sitting on the Israelites here in North America. It says, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, which you did that. I will be like the Most High. You're trying to be like the Most High. This is why you are trying to chip the whole world, because you're trying to make the whole world subservient to you. And this devil Cuomo just said that that he plans on inoculating or vaccinating every citizen of New York, and that they're trying to get that on a world scale. They're trying to inoculate everyone, and the only ones that are going to be able to move around are the ones that get the vaccines, the ones that comply, the ones that get the chip. Remember, no man shall buy or sell, say he that have the mark or the number of the beast, which is that microchip, the mark of the beast. Yet you have leaders of Israel, smart individuals that have the ability to look into the scriptures and figure this thing out, but they're not telling you. So either the spirit just shut them out, or they sold out, they took the bag. And if they took the bag, there's certain things they can't speak about. So they'll have to make up, put together a cunningly devised fable to explain away these very evident prophecies of the mark of the beast being a microchip. And they have to invent cunningly devised fables so that they don't have to call upon the names of Yahweh and Yahushai. And they'll say, well, you say we can't say the name. And they'll say Yahweh, they'll say Yahushai, but they'll say it in a mocking manner, or in a manner of a condescending manner. Yeah, you could speak about it if you're speaking in that situation, but if you're actually telling your congregation, look, this is the actual names of the Most High and His Son, Yahweh and Yahushai, guess what? You're not going to be able to do that. See? Now you notice when you listen to Nate, Bishop Nate talk or speak, and he's dealing with the name, and he'll say Yahweh or Yahushai, it's always in a mocking fashion or in a way to cast doubt. It's never in the, well, the Most High's name is Yahweh, His Son's name is Yahushai. Because he's going to get that phone call, hey, you're stepping out of line. So going back, this is the verse 15. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. And that's what's happened. You're being brought down to the sides of the pit, down to hell. It says, they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man? So they're going to look at you and say, this piece of shit right here, this is Lucifer, this devil right here. Because people, they have this notion that you so-called white people, you Edomites, that you're the hunks, that you're God, that you're the Heavenly Father's son, that you're the angels, that you're these great people that have erected great civilizations in the past and all this, but what all you did was hijack or culture vultured the customs and the nationality and the great works that other nations have done. You're nothing more than a culture vulture, man. Especially you Amalekites. You're the biggest thieves and culture vultures on the planet Earth. And you benefit off of everything that the children of Israel do. The Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. That's why you're in control of the music industry. You're in control of the diamond district. You're in control of, the governments. Because you're the ones setting the policies. Because you control the money. That's why you have your Federal Reserve, that was created in 1913, which is nothing more than a central bank under the guise of a federal, federal authority, but it's not federal at all. As they said, it's about as federal as FedEx, and it's a privately owned organization, which I believe there was 100 members of the international banking families that owned all the rights to the Federal Reserve Bank, and its branches. You see? So it says, they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? And who did that? You the ones that shook kingdoms. Dropping those bombs in all those different places did not sit right with those people. It did not give them comfort. It was not a serene setting. It was not a place, of calmness. It shook the world. It devastated people. And you have that authority and power. And when you look at those intercontinental ballistic missiles, when you look at them, even in pictures, they look menacing. So imagine up close and personal. If you look at them, up close. And imagine when they start flying. So you have to be put down, man. You are a parasite. You are an infectious disease. You are a virus. And the cure for that virus is going to be Yahweh and the angels coming back and putting you down. And then you will be in captivity for a period of 1,000 years, hardcore slavery. And after that, the ultimate cure is all of you will be rounded up and burnt to a nuclear crisp. All of you will be burnt up in a bonfire. And that will be the cure to end this virus, this parasite, this infectious disease called Esau, or the Edomites. And that's what the scriptures say, that Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. And the scriptures direct us that when Yahweh comes back, the main person he's coming to get are you Edomites. Isaiah 63 tells us that. So you're going to do battle whether you like it or not. Now, let's go from there to another scripture that is broken down wrong by the wacky-tacky Christians and taken totally out of context. And it could easily be proven. Matter of fact, before I read the point, let's go to the 3rd verse. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads. So, when you read the 7th verse, and there was roar in heaven, Michael and his angels fought against a dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. Automatically they're saying that that's Satan. But when you go to Revelation 17 and verse 9, it tells you what this dragon or this beast with the 7 heads and 10 horns is. Revelation 17:9. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains, which are governments, because mountains are governments. So 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. Because America is a product of those different European nations that ruled, beginning with the Greeks, Romans, all the way up to Britain. Britain being the 7th. America being the 8th that came from the 7. So these 7 mountains, or these 7 governments that America sits on, it says, on which the woman sitteth, and here is a mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth, and there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when you go back into history, when you check out the history, during the time when this vision was written, the Roman Empire was in power. The Greek Empire had already fallen. Then you had the Greeks, then you had the French, you had the Spanish, you had the Germanian Major and Germanian Minor, which back then they had their ancient names, they were subdued. So there was one that was still left, which was the Roman Empire, which was this really was the second one, but it was the 6th. And then you had in the future, which would be Britain or England, which would be the 7th. And everyone that has studied history knows that America stemmed out of Great Britain, because Great Britain was the 7th head and America was the 8th head. So we're reading here history. So why are people in the churches saying that there's a war in heaven, that Satan was fighting against the Lord and his angels, when it's clear that this is not talking about the spiritual demon Satan? Because there are people on the planet Earth that are called the wicked, the sons of the wicked, sons and daughters of the wicked, which are the Edomites, which are the borders of wickedness. So going back, it's verse 10. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was, and is not even he, is the eighth, and is of the seven, and goeth into perdition. Because from the inception of America, America was set up and established to be destroyed. Perdition means destruction. Perdition also means lost. In Spanish, perder is to lose. So America is destined to be destroyed. And that's the whole reason why it was set up. And that's why the Lord allowed them to do what they did to Gad, to Reuben, to Judah, Benjamin, Levi, the rest of the tribes. Because he didn't do anything to them. They thought the Most High was on his side. They lied. They deceived. But now their judgment is coming, because the Lord said that he will not at all acquit the wicked. So they're going to get their punishment. But when they get their punishment, they're going to be bathed in it. They're going to be pickled in it. You know? They're going to be gulping it every day, huh? Inside joke. All right, so now let's go back to Revelation 12 and 7. It says, and there was war in heaven. So this is an actual war in heaven. Why? Because Esau already set up his throne in heaven. He established his space stations. He established his satellites. He sends up his space shuttles. He sends up his jets, his helicopters, and whatever other thing he had, drones. And those drones, I don't know if all of them, but those drones, some of them are weaponized. They show you a little portion of that in the last movie, The Purge. When the drone came and took out, you know, my man's whole squad, and he was the only one left. It says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. So this dragon, we know, is talking about this beast system, the beast military, which all these different European nations that are going to be fighting against the Lord. And you're going to have the other nations involved in that too. But remember, you have a conglomeration of nations with America, the EU, and NATO that make up the Edomite military of the world. And that's who's going to be doing battle up there with the Lord. Because the Lord is going to put the Spirit on them to do it, because they're going to want to run because of the horrific sight that they're going to see. And the magnificence and the spectacular maneuvers of the chariots, and how they move, and how they defy the laws of aeronautics. How they do things that no one can do. How they could just fly 1,000 miles an hour, stop at the drop of a dime, and go the opposite way. Dive into the sea, come out of the sea, become huge as a mountain, become small as a pebble, disappear, appear. Come on, man. How are you going to fight against something like that? Are you crazy? So it goes on to say, and prevailed not, neither was their place found anymore in heaven. Yeah, because that's how they're going to fall from their status, from heaven. They're going to be brought down to the grave, meaning they're going to be brought down to a low condition. This is where we get the parable of Lazarus and the rich man. The rich man being at the bottom at the time, being in a hellified situation. Because to be in slavery, I don't know if they went up there and told you, but to be in slavery, that's motherfucking hell. To be subjected to a goddamn devil, to be subjected to an immoral person as his servant, as a slave, that is fucking hell. Then you had men, men that got tired of dealing with this devil's bullshit, and they stood up to him because they know it's this fucking punk. I'll beat the shit out this punk. And he knew he could fuck the devil up. But what did he do to get other fucking Sambos to wear the slave down, strip him of all his clothes, beat him till he has no energy left, then strap him over a tree or whatever the case is, and then the master go pop him, and his boys go pop him to make an example. That's fucking hell, man. Having your woman raped, your children sold, having this devil steal your land, put you in captivity, put you in concentration camps on your own land, take your resources, and dare you to say something about it. That's fucking hell, man. It says, and the great dragon was cast out. Who was this great dragon? That old serpent called the devil and Satan. So now we read how that this great dragon is talking about governments and rulers that are running these governments. So when it says a great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, these are all names that the Most High gave to this man, to this particular nation of people. And that's why when we read Revelation 20:1, it says, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. So this is going back to the same beast with the 7 heads and 10 horns and the 7 crowns upon their heads. And it also goes on to say further down in Revelation 17, dealing with the rest of the beast, Revelation 17 and 12, which I didn't read, it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which is the members, the top members of these 10 nations, which are known as the EU. It says, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. And they're ruling with Esau because they're allies to Esau. They have a government. They have people that they rule over. They have a military. So when we go back to Revelation 12:9, it says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, which is Esau, the Edomites, the so-called white people that are ruling today. Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel. Yahushai, man. It says, which deceiveth the whole world. Who deceived the whole world? Through something called the Renaissance. Esau. Because they made the world believe that the Heavenly Father was a so-called white man, that his son was so-called white, that the angels were so-called white, that the Israelites were so-called white, that anyone that was ever good in history was so-called white. And they're not even white, they're red. It says he was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him, meaning him and his military were cast down. So your space force is going to be cast down. Everything about you is going to be cast down. And they know this. This is why they have the space force. This is why they searching the heavens. They're looking for Yahushai. They're looking for the angels. That's why they, for a long time, they didn't want the information of the so-called UFOs or UAPs to be out there. Because they didn't want people to know about that. Because they were working on ways and building weapons to fight against that, to shoot them down. They were hoping to shoot them down. But you can't. Yahushua and the angels operate under a different wavelength, man. They show you this one video where I believe it was a satellite, or it could have been the space station. I'm not sure what it was. But you see a chariot hovering in space, and then you see a ray of light, and just before you saw the ray of light, the chariot took off. And as soon as the chariot took off, then you saw the ray of light shooting, and then you see the laser shooting by, which shows you the response time. Esau, your shit is mechanical. The angels, they're unexplainable, man. You can't fight against a force like that. Are you crazy? So you've been hard at work trying to build things to destroy the Lord, trying to set up traps, space traps. So when he comes, you early detection warning or whatever the case is, or something that can zap them or zap their energy. You think you can hit them with an EMP? Man, you're fucking retarded, man. You're retarded. So it goes on to say, verse 10, and I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused him before our power day and night. Yeah, and when Yahushua comes back, that's when he's going to cast them down. That's in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, Revelation, the 19th chapter. And when you read Revelation, the 19th chapter, it explains how Yahushua is going to fight against the captains and the kings and the different leaders, and how they're going to be meat to the fowls of the heaven. The spiritual demon Satan and the wicked angels are in perfect harmony with the Most High. They're spirits. They're not flesh. So how are the birds going to eat Satan and his angels if they're not flesh? This is the retardedness and the deception of plantation Christianity, which is lightly veiled white supremacy. That's all it is. So it goes on to say, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. That's why it's important to keep teaching his word. It says, and they loved not their lives, what? Unto the death. It says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, because it's going to be a worldwide thing. It says, for the devil, Esau, Edomites, is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time. So they're going to push their agenda. This is why 2020, what happened? From March, from what, mid-Marcher, inside joke, to now, shit has just been locked down. And now when it seems like everything is getting back to normal, it's going to get worse. Different countries are talking about locking down. Right now, Australia is locked down. They're about to lock down Canada. Ireland is supposed to be on lockdown. England, you know? It's a worldwide thing that they're doing. Because they know that they have a short time. That's why they're coming down so hard. Because they want to establish their new world order. And they're going to get it, but so far. But the Lord is going to smash them once he gets ready to enjoy the fruits of his demonic labor. That's when the Lord is going to shut him down. Shut him down. Shut him down. All right, let's go real quick to Job 20. We can end it here. Job 20 and 20. Surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. Why? Because his belly is what? His mind. Meaning he's thinking that he's going to be set for life after this. Him and his families. You know? But they're going to be disturbed because of the things that are going to be happening and not going the way that they planned it. It says he shall not save of that which he desired. Yeah, because they're not going to be able to enjoy the fruits of their labor. There shall none of his meat be left. Therefore shall no man look for his goods. Why? Because the scriptures say that if you establish goods upon wrongdoings, in so many words, I'm just paraphrasing, then those goodies are going to be transferred or translated to the rightful, the ones who they rightly belong to. You know? And that's why all of your wealth is going to be translated to us. Read Isaiah the 60th chapter. You know, that how these nations are going to come from the different quarters of the earth, bringing all their riches to us. Shall suck the breast of the milk of the Gentiles and the breast of kings, meaning taking all of their goodies from their bosom. It says, there shall none of his meat be left. There shall no man look for his goods. Yeah, because America is going to be out of here, Babylon the Great. In the fullness of his sufficiency, meaning when he's had enough, he shall be in straits, meaning in a position of difficulty, in bad time. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. The wicked there, when you go back to the Hebrew, is talking about the laborers. You know, so he's going to have problems on all sides. It says, when he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him. But what is the fury of the Most High's wrath? The fury of the Most High's wrath is indignation, which comes in the form of those missiles or nuclear missiles. All right, and the fire from the chariots plays a part in that too. It says, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. So while you're enjoying the fruits of your labor, the Lord is going to rain on your parade and bring you down from your lofty position. So your plans are going to fail. You're not going to get to do what you wanted. You're going to be finished. You're going to be done. It's going to be over for you. So it doesn't matter how many space forces or how many branches of the military you create, no matter how many weapons you create, nothing is going to stop the Lord. You said nothing is going to stop the Air Force. Nothing is going to stop the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and the angels when they come back. How about that? You like apples? How do you like them apples? It says he shall flee from the iron weapon. What is the iron weapon? That's talking about those missiles. and the bow of steel shall strike him through. It is drawn and cometh out of the body, which is dealing with the nuclear silos. Yea, the glittering sword cometh out of his gall. Terrors are upon him, because when them things start to fly, it's going to be terror, terrible. They showed a movie back in 1983, the day after, and it was just a simulation of nuclear war, and people were in a somber mood the next day. All that night, the next day, I'm pretty sure some people couldn't sleep, you know? Pretty sure they were in a somber mood. Everybody. Just from the thought of a movie of something like that happening. And that threat is very real. Because that is going to actually happen. So just imagine when them things start flying. It says, all darkness shall be hidden in the secret places, because their plans are going to die in those bunkers. A fire not blown shall consume him, because you're not going to have to start this fire. This fire is going to come by way of thermonuclear destruction. It shall go ill with him that is left in his tabernacle. Yeah, because anyone that's left on the shores of America, finished, done, finito. It says, the heavens shall reveal his iniquity, and the earth shall rise up against him. And the earth is rising against this devil because the earth is tired of this devil. The animals are tired of this devil. You have birds and sea life and animals just dropping dead from the poisons and the pollutions and the toxins that are everywhere, man. From the radiation. They're just saying, fuck it. And you'll see a whale beat itself out, because it's tired, man. And then you have these devils trying to push the whale back, and the whale don't want to go back in that fucking filthy ass water. There's a reason why he beats himself. He's trying to get out that fucking water. Probably got tons of fucking plastic inside of him. Just wants to die and go back, to the spirit. It says, the increase of his house shall depart, and his goods shall flow away in the day of his wrath, because the wicked are created for the day of evil, the day of wrath. This is the portion of a wicked man with the Most High, and the heritage appointed unto him by the Most High. So this is what you got to look forward to. You sowed wickedness, you best believe you're going to reap wickedness. There's nothing you could do to get out of your sentence, Esau. You will go down. You will be put down. There is no hope for you. There is not a prayer in heaven or hell for you, which there's no such thing as hell, but heaven and hell being conditions played on the earth. There's nothing that you could do to change the outcome. Your judgment is coming, and it's right around the corner. So with that, I pray that you brothers have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.